Go.
Here we go.
There we go.
Done. Ready? All right, here we go.
Ready. Okay.
The following is brought to you in part by MFC Studios. The views of the show's host and guests do not necessarily reflect those of the management, owners, or staff of this radio station. And now, it came from the radio.
And welcome once again to It Came From The Radio, the official show of the Big Apple Con. This is your host, Mark Torres, speaking. We are here at our 89th live show in front of a live studio audience. Yay! At the East Meadow Public Library. I am here with our senior correspondent, Charlie Saladino.
Hello, fun seekers.
Our co-host, actress, filmmaker, and health guru extraordinaire, Man Jenny Feldy.
Good evening. Yay.
And we have our special guest who's going to be talking to, with, and about, which is awesome. Makes our life easier. We have comic book artist Henry Martinez.
Hello, folks. Thanks for coming. Thank you.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, we're going to be talking to Henry in just a few minutes, but first we have to take it away with the news. The news is brought to you in part by the fine folks at sci-fi.radio. That is sci-fi.
For your Wi-Fi.
As well as the fine folks at the Big Apple Con, in which we are the official radio show of, celebrating over 9 years of comic bookness and pop culture stuff. For more information, go to www.bigapplecc.com. The next convention has not been announced as of yet, but as soon as it does, we'll be sure to let you know. Also want to give out shout-outs to our Patreons, of which there are. Why is this working? Let's see, where are they? Where are my Patreons? My list is not here. Why is it not here?
They're not here.
My list, my paper isn't working.
Oh, just make them up.
Make them, I cannot make them up.
Yeah.
Here we go. Danny Brillo, award-winning director Jared Burrell, Newsday famous Dresden Media, Shadow Rabbit Art, Yasmin and Ray, Rosa, the Huracan, and Millie Portes. Want to have your own little shout-out, go to our website, www.itcamefromradio.com. The little button on there takes you right to our Patreon page. Also on the It Came From The Radio website is my book, Designated. A book about two warring alien races fighting over a newly discovered power source. The war finds its way to planet Earth, and as a result, some humans gain abilities. Issue 1 is on sale right now, and issue 2 is in pre-orders. All right, as we always do, we always start off with the sad news, and we only have one bit of sad news for today. Actress Leslie Ann Charleston died recently after, quote, she had experienced several falls which caused problems with her mobility and had been hospitalized from one of them a week before her death. Leslie was perhaps best known for her role as Monica Quartermain on the ABC daytime soap General Hospital, a character which she had played for 46 years, from 1977 to 2023. Of note, her character was originated by a different actress and left the show after the first year, and was temporarily portrayed by two different actresses, once in 2018 and once in 22, with her final episode airing on December 21st of 2023. She was 79. And I know Charlie used to work for ABC, right?
Yes, I did.
Were you a part of the General Hospital or no?
General Hospital was shot in California. We had Ryan's Hope, One Life to Live, and All My Children, but we knew the people from there coming back. I didn't know her as well as I knew other actors and actresses, but I remember the Quartermains.
No, okay.
They were a big family, the General Hospital. Yeah.
You used to watch Jen does not watch soap operas at all.
No.
Okay, fine. Moving on. So that's it for the sad news. So
Wait, what about him?
Thank God.
I used to
hate
watch
to see
You
that.
really used to watch
Maybe he's a big fan. Maybe he's really sad about this woman.
What was that couple that were really famous in the 80s?
Luke and Laura.
Luke and Laura. I watched during the Luke and Laura years for
That was, I don't remember who Luke was, but Laura was Jeannie Francis,
Yes.
who was Star Trek, Jonathan Frakes' wife.
Yeah.
That's how I remember
They're
that.
still married, right?
Yeah, they're still
Oh,
married.
okay, good.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
See?
See?
Aren't you
Thank
glad?
you. Yes, thank you.
Guys watch soap operas?
So moving on for the not as sad news from the That's a Lot of Nuts department. The new Den of Thieves sequel has taken the #1 spot in the domestic box office, pulling in $15.5 million in ticket sales in its first week of release, beating out the new Lion King sequel, which came at the #2 spot, making an additional $13.2 million in its third week of release. For those of you keeping track, Lion King, as of right now, since we're in the first month of the year, is the highest grossing film of the year so far with $60.6 million, followed by Sonic Part 3 with $44.1 million. Now, Charlie does not seem to care.
Who's
about-
keeping track?
People are keeping
Would
track
you
of this
keep
stuff.
track of this
People are
stuff?
keeping track of this
It's
sort of thing.
important.
But I
Well,
think if you
I
haven't
do
seen
important to a
not,
lot
no,
of
I do
people.
not care because if that 1.5 million or whatever it is not in my pocket or in you guys' pocket, I don't care.
you have grandkids, right?
What?
You have grandkids, right?
Yeah, they go
Did-
watch that stuff.
You don't go with them to the movies?
No, I hate Disney.
Same. No, thank you.
Hates Disney, not gonna.
He said people care. Who cares? Who cares
Well,
about
there are
this?
people that are obsessed with box office numbers, and it's
Yeah.
Someone call from the audience if you
The-
care about this news. One person.
The box office, the
Okay.
box office is kind of like a badge of honor.
Uh-huh.
Because when a movie comes out and makes a lot of money
Yeah,
that
yeah.
first weekend, they're like, oh, it made such and such and
Yeah,
such.
yeah.
And in theory,
Yeah.
it's supposed to help them get more jobs to make more movies down the
Right,
line.
right.
That's the idea behind it.
Sure, no.
And I mean, we've come to a point where all they care about is that first weekend numbers. And
Right.
we have been in the
when you
entertainment
say
industry.
they, who do you?
They mean the people who make the movie and the
Exactly.
studios.
I didn't make these movies. I don't care.
But
No
if
offense.
you like a movie,
Yeah, sure.
you kind of want them to do well. So if you're a fan of either one of these two movies, like,
I'm
oh, they
not.
made a big bag of money.
I brought a book
Congrats
to
them.
Lion King when I was little, and I read a book during the movie.
That's right. I remember
Wow.
you mentioned that.
I
That's
brought a book with a
interesting.
light when I was like, I don't know, 9, 10, 11.
This is
I was
boring.
like,
I'm
why
gonna
am I
read my
here?
book.
And I read some book,
I remember.
and I still
remember
don't
that.
care, and I'm 40. So, I mean, no offense, but I just don't think this is news.
You're a fan of
I just,
Lion King, Sonic, and all that? No.
yeah,
I
sorry.
played Sonic and they loved it, but I don't want to see him on screen. It's just. Remember the controversy when it first came out?
Blue
The
Lives Matter.
horribly
Blue Lives
designed.
Matter.
Yes, I do remember.
Sonic
so,
is horribly designed?
yeah,
The
so
initial when they first
Oh,
released
this
the
is
trailer,
interesting.
it looked nothing like Sonic. They try to I don't know, modernize him. And
Oh.
There was so much complaining
Oh.
that they went back to the drawing board, redid all the CGI, and now we have Sonic.
yeah,
That's
so
interesting.
the fandom actually complained about how the character looked,
What?
Yeah.
and they complained to the studio,
Wow.
and the studio listened, and they redesigned the character for the CGI, and then it made a big bag of money.
Wow.
So it does lend some credence
Yeah.
to the fans saying, hey, we want this, and
Yeah,
give
sure.
the fans what they want.
Right.
Although the saying is you're supposed to leave the fans wanting more. And you're not
Right.
supposed to bend to what the fans want. You're
Yeah.
supposed to stay true to what you want to make.
What was the problem with Sonic? The boobs weren't big enough?
There
Or
was
what's
there
the
was
deal?
no boobs on Sonic.
What's the problem?
Um,
No, what's the problem?
so
The
actually-
shoes were horrible. There were pointy
shoes?
shoes instead of big
He-
full
Oh,
cartoonish. A lot of
okay.
little things.
Okay.
So-
They made his nose really pointy. It
Really?
looked more like a fox.
What you should do,
Oh, interesting.
you can
Okay.
you can look up Ugly Sonic. If you
Oh,
Google
I
was
Ugly
there.
Sonic,
Yeah, now I wanna
you'll
know.
see the difference between what the original
can't
studio execs
imagine.
thought that the fans wanted, and then
Yeah.
what actually happened. And now we're on 3 Sonic movies, and then the 4th one is already in pre-production because it's making a big bag of money.
I can't imagine who's writing in as a problem with Sonic's appearance. Like who?
A lot of people,
Fans.
so many people, fans. The fandom is huge.
Wow.
I want you to know, I went to see Sonic 3. I took my grandkids.
Okay.
I just asked you if you went. You said no.
Well, it's not to this
You
thing,
like?
I said Sonic.
I don't
Nice,
care about
nice.
this. But I took my grandkids to see Sonic
And?
3.
And?
And I tell you, I didn't care about the movie. I
No.
had to make sure they were happy, because when you got grandkids, you don't want them running around the theater. So you don't really watch the movie.
Is that why you don't remember you went to see the movie?
You
watched
know,
the grandkids.
it's all, you know, I'm from the 60s. I'm a musician from the 60s.
Yeah.
There was a lot of drugs around. No. I didn't do that.
So,
My mother is up in heaven slapping me on the head.
No, she thinks
No,
you're
I
great.
didn't do that.
moving on. From the I'm only using it to help department. None other than comic book creator Jim Starlin has announced that due to a hand injury that made him unable to draw comics anymore, he will use AI in his upcoming Dreadstar comic,
Oh.
which will be published by Monkey Wrench Press. Jim says, I'm looking forward to seeing where
Sounds
it
nothing
works
like Jim.
itself into, because it's going to be a tool. Trying to pass it off as an entire piece of your own is an AI creation, and that's completely wrong. I can see it being used for other things. I want to try and use it and see it in some future Dreadstar books, using it as little AI backgrounds. I come from Detroit, where the carvers replace by the horse-drawn carriage. I have always tried to do additional things to the medium. I do a lot of Photoshop work, with photos and paintings and other things in the background of Dreadstraw already. And so I think the next step is just to see what I can do using some AI in the books. I think a complete ban on AI is a waste of time. You're just setting yourself up in history to be another Luddite. I'm curious to see where it's going to go. Henry, have you ever worked with Jim?
No, not personally. I just know him professionally.
Okay, so, but as a former Marvel artist, right? What are your thoughts on using AI?
It hurts. It hurts to hear that, but I kind of get where he's coming from. Because I know there's a musician out there that was featured on CBS Sunday Morning News who he's losing everything. He can't write, he can't speak. So he's training AI to learn his style of music, his style of writing. And he's actually been able to complete an original song for the first time. And it's heartbreaking. Like, you cry for him. He's so happy that he's able to create again where he couldn't before. So I think it's useful in some circumstances.
Well, it's going to take over the world at one point in time.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't say take over the world.
I mean,
We can't avoid it. It's definitely a tool that people will use. And there's nothing we can do to stop it. Yes, in that case, yeah.
But if you put yourself in Jim's position where you have a hand injury, where you can't draw,
That's a very
would
good
that
question.
be something that you would do?
My first attempt, and I think he tried this, was to hire an assistant to draw his style. He'll do the layouts, and then the assistant would come in and finish it up. And I get that. But maybe this works better for him. Maybe it's a financial thing. Who knows?
All right.
All right, I got two thoughts.
Yes.
There was a whistleblower for OpenAI, and he was killed.
Ooh.
Yeah, and there's an interview out now with his mother. I think it was it was like a week ago or so. So a whistleblower to talk about OpenAI basically stealing content. He was killed. He was murdered in his own house recently. So that's number one. Can't stop AI, because if you try to stop it, you're gonna get murdered. That's number one. Number two.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. Number two, maybe he faked the hand injury. Because if I wanted to use AI and I was a liar, which I'm not, I don't like lying. I believe in morality, and I maybe I should lie. People like me better, but I don't. Maybe he faked the hand injury so then he can use AI. Well, I count on my hands. I have to use AI because AI is very alluring and it can help you get ahead. So maybe he faked it.
That's fine.
I'm kind of just kidding. So
So
Do you guys know
moving
the actual basis of AI?
The face.
What it is besides the cloud or
So-
AI?
So what AI is, since the audience wants to
in our
know,
art world, absolutely we know.
basically
No, I
it's
know,
like
that's
if
why
you
I'm asking.
take a puzzle, like 100-piece puzzle, and you take one piece of that puzzle, and you take another 100-piece puzzle, and you take another piece of that puzzle, and then you make your own puzzle out of that and claiming it that it's yours. The biggest controversy about AI is how it gets the information that it uses. So AI right now, it takes other people's works, tiny little digital square of each
Data.
work, and makes their own property. And that's the problem, because they're not compensating or giving credit to where they got the information from. If AI was a system where people were getting paid for it, it wouldn't be an issue. But the fact that it's stealing other people's works and claiming it as their own, which anybody can use, that's where the issue is.
Well said.
So if Jim was using his own work and they use AI for his own work,
right.
he's stealing from himself, so it's okay. It's fine. It's not stealing.
yeah, that's
it's
fine.
it's using it. But
Yeah.
if you're taking, let's say, some of Henry's work, that he can, because it's online, it's out
Sure,
there,
sure.
it's
There's nothing I
scanned.
can do about it.
And right there, it's taking just the smallest of pieces on a grand scale. So that's how AI works, and that's what the issue is. It's how it's learning, where it's getting the information from, as opposed to what it's doing in and of itself.
Yeah.
So when you were saying about the musician, I'm sure he was learning from his own work.
Yes.
So that's
It was all about
okay.
his work.
See, that's the difference.
Right.
I always bring this up with AI. They had, and I was irate because I love the Beatles. They had the AI Beatles, and it was just bits and pieces of their style, and they created a song that is supposed to sound like the Beatles wrote it. And like I was saying, where is all the suing that's going on? First of all, Michael Jackson, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr. Where is it? Nothing. They can't touch them.
Blueberry
it's very
fields
weird.
forever.
Yeah, you're
So,
exactly
moving
right.
on.
That's how it works.
Yeah,
You're right.
that's how it works.
That's the logic behind it. All it is a gigantic database that extract information
Yep.
from everyone. It's basically stealing, we could say.
Exactly.
Right.
So moving
That's
on,
what it is.
from the sounds like a sex bot to me department.
Here we go.
At the CES show in Vegas, none other than Realbotics has announced a quote-unquote affordable AI robot girlfriend. CEO says, by incorporating advanced motor technology, Melody enhances movement fluidity, modularity, and interaction by making her a versatile option for a variety of applications. Melody was created with the intent of having robots that are easy to travel with and modify various forms of personal interaction. Our customized AI solutions are tailored to your specific needs, whether it be companionship, social interaction, or business purposes. These AIs can be programmed to provide support in areas such as product communication, academic assistance, or medical inquiries, with a particular focus on alleviating loneliness and enhancing connections.
All right.
Now, according to the company's website and video presentation, the life-size robot can express emotions, talk to you, and is actually mobile on a rotating platform. So it's like like those the little Zumbas, except it's a robot on top of a Zumba, and it can move around, but it actually moves, but it's on like a little base, and it can
I think
scoot
those
around.
flowers. You play music.
Yeah,
with
it's like that, but
flowers.
it's mobile.
Yeah, perfect.
So how much do you think something like this would cost? Jen, how much do you think?
$6,700.
$6,700. Charlie, how much do you think?
$25.50.
$25.50. Henry, how much do you think?
$125,000.
$125,000. Oh, you saw it. So
Yeah.
it's actually
This is the demo. She wasn't making coffee. She wasn't Zumbaing. This is her. This is advanced.
Yeah.
The melody demo.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's actually $175,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was wrong.
Wow.
It was close.
Wow.
Give me a bag of shells.
Or a
Wow,
house.
I was
I'll
way
take a
off.
house.
They also
Yeah.
have a non-mobile version,
Okay.
which still moves for full interactivity for $150,000, and they also have just a bust, which is the head and chest, which starts around $10,000.
Oh, I'm
So-
gonna buy
Let
that
me
one.
tell
Yeah.
you, let me tell you about this thing.
yes, Charlie.
Yeah,
I was watching TV and I saw this. Scared the hell out of me.
Really?
Because it is a very attractive female, but it has expressions.
How attractive is this female?
I'm telling you, it has these expressions, and it's scary. It's scary because it's not like a robot.
Wow.
It has these human expressions, and that's what the scary part is to me.
So would you buy?
No, it would scare the hell out of me.
I know someone who should buy it.
Yeah,
Who should buy it?
I have a friend who keeps asking me for plans. I've known this person for over a decade. I even said to him a few years ago, you know, like, I don't do small talk. I'll meet you and I'll ask about your colon and your bowel movements. I don't want to hear small talk. I want to hear, like, deep talk, what's deep inside you. And he said, I prefer small talk. So if you're going to keep inviting me to make plans and there's nothing going on up here, why don't you just buy a robot and stop messaging me? You know, stop contacting me. Leave me alone.
So you think that's for him? That's for
I
that
think
social
for certain
interaction.
people who I got
Yes, for
nothing to
certain
say, yeah, just hire a robot. Like, don't.
What do you
don't,
say?
Don't
What-
waste my time.
No, I was as you were saying the interaction and the facial
Yeah.
expressions. I was thinking of that movie Megan,
Yes.
Yeah.
which is
Yes.
basically that. Which is the creepy part of it is
Yeah.
how human she was,
Uh-huh.
and how they're making these toys that way. Because basically they're toys for lonely people that have money to spare.
Well, as an audience member just mentioned, we actually mentioned this on our show that they actually are making a life-size Megan doll so
Yeah.
people can buy.
What?
Yeah, that's like based on the realistic scans of her from the movie,
What?
and people can buy a life-size Megan doll for whatever reason they want to buy a life-size Megan
See, I
doll for.
understand Megan
That's
Fox.
the key line for
They
whatever
picked the wrong
reason
movie.
they
should
want.
pick
I
Megan
don't
Fox.
like dolls. This is my biggest fear. That's my worst horror movie. When the dolls move,
Yeah.
I don't like. Let alone, am I going to put this doll in the middle of my living room and it's going to go, "Hello, Charlie, how are you?" No, that's not going to happen.
What are 5 things it can do? Like,
What?
I
The
wanna,
Megan doll or
no,
the
like
or this,
any of
or
these
this?
things. Yeah, what's the benefit? 5 things.
Well, they say it's for
Bring them.
human interaction.
Oh,
So you know,
like,
you
let's go 5
talk-
uses. Let's figure.
Well,
figure it out.
there's the obvious use.
What, sexual use?
Yes.
Yeah.
I would think if
know,
you're
I
you're
know.
spending $175,000, don't you
I
remember?
want to know it can do
Don't
it.
you remember we talked about the guy in I think it was China who made
Uh-huh.
a lifelike
Yeah.
scan version of Scarlett Johansson
Okay,
robot
yes,
that
yes.
looked like her,
Yes.
and he married her.
All right,
Yes,
maybe
yes.
Scarlett
Yeah, so-
Johansson.
All right, okay, so sexual
that's-
purpose.
that's-
Can they cook? Can it clean?
It can move and say things that
So what?
it cannot cook or clean because it's on a
Right.
pedestal.
So
It just
you can have
kinda-
conversation?
you can have conversations with it.
Okay.
Oh.
Well, you were the one that said to your
You
friend
need
that
a
has to
wife
have
anymore.
conversations too.
Well, he doesn't like to have conversations, so you just have a thing around, just something that stands around and
See,
moves. looks
yeah.
like a
We're
human,
going
that's
to hell in a
perfect.
handbag, because first of all, we have, what's the one, Alexa, whatever?
Alexa, yeah.
Yeah, now we talk to that was the thing that we could talk
Not
to.
me.
Now, we're building a robot,
Leave-
an
don't say
AI
leave.
robot, it's like,
Right.
it's a
Right.
science
Right.
fiction movie waiting to
Yeah,
happen.
yeah.
They're taking over.
So moving on for the last bit of news.
Yeah, no we.
So everybody, relax, go enjoy yourselves.
From the
No Alexa.
it's a good bankruptcy department.
Oh, okay.
As reported
That's right.
during previous episodes on our show, on multiple occasions, none other than Diamond Distributors, remember them?
Oh, yeah.
Has been in hot
Oh,
water
let's
since
hear
the
it.
pandemic hit,
Oh, boy,
with
okay.
shipping delays, missed bill payments,
Oh,
and
God.
losing their top 2 customers, which is Marvel / Disney and DC.
Oh.
Now it seems that the proverbial say what
But,
has hit the fan, and they now have filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy.
wow.
Diamond says, earlier today, Diamond made the difficult decision to file for Chapter 11 bankruptcy. This decision was not made lightly, and I understand that the need may be difficult to hear as it is for me to share. Chapter 11 will provide us with the opportunity to restructure and address our financial obligations. I want to reassure you that our secured financing in place to support our operations, Diamond is committed to continuing business as usual
as
throughout
usual.
this process.
And
We will
why
be
would we believe him?
we will be
Yeah,
as
right.
transparent as possible during this process, and we'll keep you informed of significant developments.
All right.
Now,
All right.
for those of you who don't
Yeah,
know,
give a backstory. We need
Diamond
a backstory, yeah.
Diamond Distributors was and probably is the biggest distributor of all comic book materials for about 30 years. If you had a comic book store, and you wanted to get your comics, you needed to have a middleman, and they were the ones that talked to the comic book publishers. They worked it all out to get the comics to your stores. Then the pandemic hit, and they were missing payments. They were saying that they weren't going to give out refunds.
Right.
They fired their marketing guy. There were so many issues with Diamond, and you were wondering when was the shoe going to drop.
Right.
And now, 5 years later,
Right.
they declared for bankruptcy. Now, there's 2 different types of bankruptcy.
Right.
And Chapter 11 is the quote-unquote good bankruptcy,
Okay.
where they're still able to maintain operations. So they got an influx of cash to help try to save the comic book industry for this. But if you're running a business that's been on the downhill for such a long time, and you're getting a big bag of money, and you're not doing anything to change your business practices, how is this going to help your company survive?
I don't know.
Now, as a comic book creator, I mean, you're well aware of Diamond and
Yeah.
what they do. So what are your thoughts on Diamond filing for Chapter 11, and what do you think this means for the comic book industry in general?
It's unfortunate in that so many people relied on it, and they made sure they were a monopoly. And I've heard from friends that if you're an independent, there's no way you're getting in there unless you cough up some bucks. And we don't have that kind of money. So
Good for you.
it served its purpose, but it's time to move on. And there are sharks waiting to jump in there and take over that space.
Yeah.
I have a couple of friends that are ready. It's just they're giving it some time. And I think, unfortunately, it's pretty good for the industry, especially for independent creators.
Your friends want to be distributors?
Yep, they're working on it. They're smart, they've been around, they have plans, and they're just ready.
Got it.
And there's going to be a lot of people ready.
And what are they waiting for?
Just enough distance from this story and people realizing, we didn't really need diamonds. We can do this on our own. That's why
Direct.
Kickstarters are so successful. Excuse me. I have plenty of peers that are doing really well with Kickstarters.
Right.
And I'm just trying to learn as much as I can from that,
Right,
because
right.
when you're ready, you go in there, and you have a really good opportunity to
Yeah.
take care of yourself and your family just doing Kickstarters.
And then you don't need a distributor at all.
You don't need a distributor. You are your own distributor.
Right,
So
which
And
is-
actually,
which
they take
is,
a cut, you know.
Which is
They
now.
take a cut, but that's just part
Yeah.
of the
And that's part of the
process.
deal. You can't do everything on your own, the marketing and all that.
Do you think?
I mean, you could.
Yeah.
Do you think that Diamond will survive this, or you think that's it for them?
In another form, yeah, they're gonna make sure they're still around. I would think.
Probably.
You know, just in another form or shape.
I think
Let me go fix
personally,
that.
like after all this time, and like I said, they really haven't changed their business
Yeah, that's
structure.
the problem.
Even after losing their two biggest customers, which is Marvel/Disney and DC.
Right.
Once you lose your biggest customers, you've got to do something different.
Make adjustments.
And having been in the comic book industry for all these years, and I remember when I first tried to make my comic 30 years ago,
Oh, so you know the
they
lesson.
dealing with Diamond, they were not nice to the independents back then.
They're
Ah.
So they have no good professional relationship
Oh,
with anybody.
Gotcha.
Their business hasn't changed much.
Okay.
They lost customers. They just filed for bankruptcy. I don't see them lasting at least a year. Because we talked about how Party City had filed for bankruptcy for last year. And then they got a new CEO by like 4 months in, and then they decided to just shut everything off.
Wow.
They didn't change anything.
Because they didn't change anything. And these guys just said, we're going to continue doing our business as normal.
Yeah.
Everything's fine.
Yeah,
So
right.
if you have a company where nothing is changing,
Right.
you've already in so much trouble, and then you file for bankruptcy, and you're not going to hire new people,
Yeah.
you're not going to change the CEO, you're not doing anything at all, how are you going to be in business? Because you're still going to be in debt, you're still running it the same way. What's going to change? There's nothing going to change.
Yeah.
And the fact that the independent guys are the only ones really that was in the book, because what it is you get a book every month that says of all the comic books that are coming out, and the comic book store says, I want this, I want that, I want this, and then they give the order, and then they send the books.
Gotcha.
So if they don't have that, they're gonna lose. So a lot of people who are on the other side as the companies and be like, why would I deal with these guys if they already filed for bankruptcy? I'm gonna go jump ship. I'm gonna try to find my other way, as you were saying. I'm gonna try to find another way to get my books to the customer and just get around Diamond in itself. So they're losing customers. They announced bankruptcy. There's so many things against it. I don't think they're gonna make it at least. Maybe another year, maybe, but I don't think they will last
Or
2
till
years.
the next
Making sense.
bankruptcy.
Until the next
The
bankruptcy.
next
Till
file
the-
for
till the
chapter
next-
11.
Stay tuned for chapter 12.
So I think chapter 13 is the bad one, where you file for chapter 13,
yeah?
you're like, it's over, it's done,
Oh,
you're
really?
out.
In
So,
this
yeah.
day and age of all the independents and everybody doing their own stuff, there's hardly a need for that.
Right?
Yeah.
I'm
So
gonna miss the previews guide. I love that.
I
thing.
used to love it too,
Thick
yeah.
book, all the artwork. You get to see what's coming out. Bios. It was. It's also a source of pride to get in there, but
It was
Adios.
just to get in there.
yeah.
They were
Yeah.
pimps. A lot of people don't need pimps anymore.
That's right.
They're their own
True.
pimps. They're like, what am I doing?
So that's it for the news segment.
Thank
So
God.
we're going to take a quick break in front of our live studio audience.
Okay.
Back with more. It came from the radio.
Right.
Hey everybody, this is Todd McFarlane of the record-setting Spawn comic series. And if you're looking for any kind of cool conversation about creators, about entertainment, about all that good stuff, you go to It Came From the Radio. You're listening to the right spot.
Yeah, we got time. So, as I've ever had, that our guest and our co-host just ran away. So now we have to fill
Well, it
time.
has to be you, Mark.
Is that what it is? It's all me?
It's challenges. Challenges make you stronger. I'm just
Is
trying
that
to
what
make
it
you
is?
stronger. That's
So,
all.
so while we're waiting for
Yeah,
Henry,
yeah.
we need to fill time until
Oh,
Henry comes
okay,
back.
okay.
So how have you been, Jen?
Busier than ever. Yeah, I'm doing a production design for a film,
Well-
so that's taken over my life.
Why don't you mention the movie that you had the premiere at the
Oh yeah, that
Museum
was
of the Moving
actually
Image?
very good. You know, I trash a lot of my movies. I don't hype up everything I do, but this one was quite good, and it's called Bring on the Damned. It's a horror anthology, and the last one is really fun. It's like Josie and the Pussycats meet Scooby-Doo, and we're cartoons, and we solve murders and mysteries. It's super creative. I can speak well of it. I didn't write it. I just acted in it, but it's super well done. It won Best Movie at the first film festival it was in. And there should be another screening with Kevin Smith. You guys know Kevin Smith.
Yeah, I don't Kevin Smith.
April 5th at Smod Castle. It's almost official.
Are you gonna go meet Kevin Smith? You know, trying to get him to be on the show?
I love that guy.
If you want me to.
Yes, I would like you
Okay,
to.
you got it. So I'll go for you. You know I don't care about celebrities. So.
Yes.
But
Just
for
don't
you-
tell him
No.
that
I'm
you
not
don't care.
stupid.
He's
I'm
not listening
stupid.
right now.
Well, it's good to not care about celebrities. People should care about farming and other things. So it's fine.
But now our guest has come back, so we're back with
There
Henry
he
I
Martinez.
thought we had like a minute to
No.
It was,
Not here, folks.
No.
Sorry.
No, I run.
this is the live portion of the show, so you gotta be right on here.
Live for that.
Yeah,
Yes,
back
we
to
are
the
live,
diapers.
live. So Henry,
Hey,
So Henry.
as I was mentioning, I've known you for many years. You're an amazing, talented artist,
thank you, sir.
and it took you forever to come down to the live show. So why don't you tell people who may not know who you are a little bit about yourself?
My parents came from Cuba in 1966. Oh, we're talking comics.
Ah.
Okay. Sorry.
Did they actually come like on the boat, or did they fly in? How-
Back then, you can fly on a plane at 8 months pregnant. You can't do that today.
Is it 66?
66, and if they didn't do it then, if it wasn't so loosey-goosey
Yeah.
with the rules, I'd be over there.
Really?
Yeah, they saved my life.
Wow.
Thank you.
Wow.
Anywho, so yeah, I always wanted to be a comic book artist, and my parents were very supportive on the limited budget we had, which was getting the watercolor kit at the local Woolworth store. You know.
Wow.
And they have whatever books I needed, whatever, if I needed a drafting table, they got me the table.
Oh,
Again, very supportive.
nice.
And I always knew I wanted to be a comic book artist. My dream was to be a Marvel guy, because that's what I grew up on. Marvel versus DC, there's always this thing. And I just kept submitting samples. Like, when I found out editors actually accepted packages and looked through, and they would write you back. Well, that's what I'm working on for today, the raffle.
All right.
But you would submit pages, and they'd write you back, and it was wonderful, hand typed.
Oh, wow.
Spider-Man on the head, what is it, the header, signed, and was, oh, this is wonderful. And as a 13-year-old, forget about it.
Wow.
So eventually, I worked in advertising for a really long time in an art studio, doing storyboards. And I was still submitting, and one day, I just got a letter that said, here's a script. I thought it was just a tryout, but it was an actual job.
Ah.
So it was a script for Morbius. Marvel was they had a character that was a Spider-Man villain called Morbius the Living Vampire. Actually, there was a horrible movie released last year.
Yeah.
Did you see it? Did you get a?
I did. I got to watch everything just to support
Right.
the
Okay.
industry. And it's like, no, please, you ruined him. He's terrible. But and so it was like the filler, because Ron Wagner was the artist at the time, big fan favorite. He started the book. I think he took off, and then I finished it, and that got me Spirits of Vengeance, which is a ghostwriter title. It was like this big multi-crossover thing, and that did really well. And then a lot of books were canceled. Then they gave me Blaze, which is an original book. I worked on that till the very end, and that was it. The bubble, the comic book bubble burst. A lot of people out of work, a lot of young folks who they made a lot of money. They weren't good with it, and then they're broke. These guys who were making, some made $500,000, but then they bought cars and houses and all that stuff. As far as I was concerned, I love comics so much. I kept working for small independents, and I did my storyboards, my advertising, and then that kind of popped because AI just does beautiful storyboard work. AI can do a storyboard of top quality in 3 hours, something that would take me 8 to 10 hours, and lose sleep and do overnight. So that's done. Fortunately, I still have this skill, but it's a struggle. My wife will tell you. They got bills to pay. So that's where I'm at right now. Just in touch with the industry, and want to do local shows and spread the word and sell artwork, and just get in touch with people. Something I didn't do before. I was really bad at networking and socializing, which I should have done. Every artist, we tend to stare at the wall and very isolated. But you need to get out. You need to network. You need to interact with people. Otherwise, you might lose your mind.
That's it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very important.
What year did this comic bubble burst?
Late 90s?
Late 90s?
It was when
Okay.
Image started.
Okay.
Because Marvel, they were just paying these guys an amazing amount of money, but they didn't treat them well.
Oh.
They didn't give them any cut of any properties, any shirts, mugs, nothing. And the guys were really upset. They're like, Todd McFarlane is famous as quote. He goes, "My dad, he worked in He worked in a company for 25 years, 50 years. They gave him a freaking watch." And he put in blood, sweat. He saw his father work, and he goes, "We didn't get a freaking watch." So he goes, "We decided we made our own product, we formed our own company, and they get everything, 100%. So Marvel was spooked by the power that artists had all of a sudden, because they didn't think they were going to take off. They thought they were making plenty of money. So they took off, they formed their own company, and ever since then, Marvel they don't talk about the artist, they don't put an artist too long on a book in case they gain too much of a fan base. They're more focused on writers, which is fine.
Right.
But the artists are the visual guys.
Right.
You got to sell the art too.
Yeah.
So that's basically
Yeah, work for
history.
hire. It's like
Yeah.
a work for hire thing.
Exactly.
For sure. Yeah.
Hi folks, welcome.
Makes sense. Oh, welcome.
Have a seat.
So, you're working at Marvel. You did the Marvel method.
Yeah,
So,
loved it.
how does that work? Where they just give you a general outline, you just do the storyboards and the artwork and the panels based on that, or do you actually get a full script?
It
that you work
depends on
off
the
of?
creator. Some people like working one way, some people like another. I understand why Stan Lee did it, because that way he can just put out 25 books, and then at the end of the month he's got 25 books. So yeah, it's a very loose plot. Basically, it will say page 1 through 3, Spider-Man fights the Scorpion. And then next couple of pages, it'll be a little bit more focused, like he goes back to his apartment, Peter Parker goes back to his apartment, has a deep conversation with Aunt May. And then it's all up to you, the visuals all up to you. And then he'll look at it, and he'll put in the words, and then they're finalized by the whole crew, inker, colorist. Then he's the editor, so in the end he decides yes or no. I change that color. It's very quick, it's fantastic. But then you have like an Alan Moore who's very detailed. And that's fun too, because that way there's no question. And you better get some reference, Alan Moore's notorious for writing incredible amounts of detail to the point where there's so many words that it covers the images. It's a real skill to try to fit a head in here when there's 50 pages of dialogue. So those are the two.
Wow.
Now, I know back in the day, as you mentioned, they had the penciler, inker, colorist, editor, letterer.
It's the only way to get a book out every month,
But when you ink your own stuff, which you do,
Yeah, it's a lot.
I know that you can take shortcuts when you're drawing.
Yeah, nowadays, sure.
So is that something that you had intended when you were starting out? Like, I'm going to ink my own stuff so that way.
Oh, no. I wanted to, I was hired by Marvel. Who am I to complain? I was going to do exactly what they wanted of me. And I had a damn good inker, Bud LaRosa, who went on to do a lot of other, he worked on X-Men, he worked on a lot of things. Unfortunately, he incurred an injury where he couldn't work anymore. It was really painful for him, but he did really well while he was inking at Marvel. Yeah, so of course, every artist wants to finish their own work, but there's just some people that are better at it than you are. Like I like Bud's work over mine. But now, yeah, there are shortcuts. For instance, I know what the final work's going to look like, so I'll do a loose pencil. If I were working with an inker, I'd give them tight pencils to make sure they follow my style, or at least close to it. So now, I'll do a loose thing, and then I'll ink it, and you still get original artwork done by the artist. But you have to know what you're doing, unfortunately. Well, fortunately. Or not.
So when you're deciding to what the page looks like, you already have an idea of what it looks like in your head, and you're just kind of, as when they say that you're chiseling out something, you already see the image, and you just know what they just kind of chisel away at the marble to find out what's underneath. So when you look at a blank page, is that something that always happens when you read a script, or you have an idea? It's like, I know exactly what it looks like?
But 90% of the time. Like right now, I do a lot of work for Heroic Publishing. And the writer and publisher, Dennis, he's he's a fun writer. He knows what he's working on. It's a lot of entertainment, superheroes, a little TNA. It's fun, it's comics. But sometimes he'll let me go nuts with the action stuff. But he'll tell you if there's something very specific, you know, like Jane and Susan are talking about the breakup they just had with Jimmy, and they're both interested in. So I want to capture some emotion, so I make sure I have realistic expression. Sometimes I'll reference something, like a hug. You think a hug's easy to draw? Not so much, because people hug a certain way. There's the leaning in. Some people close their eyes and they look off. It's not just close your eyes, you know. So it's got to feel real.
Yeah, that'd be hard.
It is. It's not as easy as people think.
What was your best experience with a story and your worst experience? And your favorite cover?
Oh man, there's so many.
I guess.
Oh,
If
the
you
covers,
had a
the
worst
covers.
experience.
No, the best experience was my time on Spirits of Vengeance, because I got to work with an incredible creative team. The storyline was huge, like multi-universe, and I got to draw so many characters. I mean, everybody was in this storyline. Doctor Strange, Spider, everybody. So, my God, that's my dream. Look, I got to draw Doctor Strange.
That's cool.
So that was the best. The worst is when someone says they trust you, they know your work, and then you give them what you're known for, and then they go, "This is terrible."
Oh.
I mean, that language is actually being used. Some people are very uncouth. There's no reason to say, "This is terrible."
Yeah.
Like, and it is, I think I draw very attractive women, and there was this one guy who said, "This is a tough job because nobody wants to touch it because of X, Y, Z." And then I sent him samples, and he goes, you've obviously never drawn a woman before.
Wow.
I was like,
Wow.
What?
I want to see this. Can I see this?
Absolutely. Just give me your card or
What
email.
was wrong with the woman?
Nothing, actually. I mean, it's not an ego thing.
What did he want?
She was, I don't know, but
Wow.
apparently I couldn't draw any women. And I have women that inspire me, actresses. She was based off Rosario Dawson, I find beautiful. My wife doesn't think so.
No?
She's my muse. But anyway, it was based on Rosario
Maybe
Dawson.
he liked Pam Anderson. I don't know.
You know, maybe.
Maybe he liked Richard Simmons. Yeah.
Maybe. Oh, there are plenty of curly-haired
another
women.
famous woman. I don't know. Yeah, who knows?
But yeah, that's the worst experience I can think of. Just there's no reason to be rude, you
Yeah.
know.
Well, maybe it was his opinion.
Yeah.
I actually had this
It's an
conversation with my mom because some people are very egocentric or narcissistic or whatever. They think their opinion is how the world should be. Both my parents are kind of like that. I'm
Almost
actually not.
parents.
I know my opinion is my opinion. That's my opinion. But anytime I talk to my mom about things, a lot of times she'll go, "Oh, this isn't funny," or "This is great," or she really thinks that's how it is. So a lot of people, he might have been one of these people and says, "Well, if I think it's terrible, it's objectively terrible." So I've had to tell her twice, and maybe she'll realize when you say something, be like, "This is it's just terrible to me." Anytime I say something on the show, it's my opinion. Maybe sometimes I think it's universal truth. I'm sure I'm guilty, but
They're subjective and objective.
so
Opinions are,
everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you mentioned your wife, and you mentioned drawing women.
Right.
Do you use your wife as a model?
Oh.
I have. I don't think she knows it, but I have. And my ex-wife, I don't know if this was fate, but I try to include as much family as possible. And a lot of times I put her on a headstone in a cemetery during the Spirits of Vengeance work.
Wow.
Well, there's a lot of cemeteries.
Her name?
Her name.
Really?
Full name there.
So she can see it and she'll see
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And she
That's
was-
awesome.
The family thought it was great. Hey, you're in a comic book.
Oh, that's funny. That's
So you're
I'm very happy now. So none of that.
so you are allowed to make up your own characters?
Not in Marvel. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, for
You're
that-
allowed to make up anything, but they own everything.
right.
If
Okay.
you want to own
okay.
anything, you got to do it on your own.
So that's the other thing about ownership. Whenever you decide, it wasn't as big until Image happened about the ownership, and then all the
Goodness
creative and
gracious.
all that stuff went downhill. But was that something at the time when you were there? Was it a conscious thought? Oh, I better not make a new character because then they're gonna own it, or is it just something that
Not
I'm
conscious,
just
but
gonna?
it's always there. Yeah. And I don't know if you folks know this or not, but if it wasn't for Image, we wouldn't have Walking Dead We wouldn't have, well, there's a lot of shows out there that probably aren't familiar to most people. The Boys. This happened because the image company formed and they welcomed all the creators, writers, artists, whoever wanted to join us, join us. And we owe a lot to the image people.
Okay.
So do you have your own comic ideas to work?
Three.
All right.
And I have to focus on one because it takes time. You got to sit at your desk and do the work. So I picked one. It was tough, but I picked one, and I'm moving forward with that one.
So can you explain the difference of transitioning from an artist who is already a storyteller in their own right to being a writer? So do you write for yourself as an artist, or do you writing for someone else to draw your stuff?
I'm writing for myself always. And I think it's a bit of an ego thing also that I think every artist thinks they can write, but that's not necessarily true. It's a different skill set. But I've always written, and I've always drawn, so I'm combining the two. Like I remember in English class, we had this really cool exercise when you walk into class in the morning. And the teacher would put out a little metal box with index cards, and they would start a story. So class would line up, grab the card, go back to your desk. Maria went to the grocery store, and then you finish the story.
Yeah.
And that was such a great exercise.
That's fun.
Yeah, so that, I mean, I was always right.
So you have a monthly series called The Cult of Dracula?
I
Or you
was
did?
on it.
This
Yeah.
lie. This is a lie. This is a lie.
Yeah.
All right. So whatever. But you were involved in the cult of
Oh,
Dracula,
absolutely.
correct?
Yeah.
How does one become part of the cult? I want to know. How do I get in?
How do people get? Oh, human sacrifice.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah,
Sure.
it's not something I'm like a fan of.
Well,
But,
some humans should be sacrificed.
uh,
I mean, everyone
This is true.
everyone should be here. Come on.
population would
Come
be
on.
a lot less dense. But I love the storyline. The concept was great. But yeah, a lot of people just saw it. I'm sorry, not a lot of people. Many people just saw it as like, oh, you just gender swapped
What?
Dracula for a girl. But no, there's a really deep story based on the Bible that I thought was really good and rich. And which is funny because the writer's name is Rich. But yeah, I really enjoyed it. It's just my time. It was time to move on, and that's it. I mean, I'm glad of the experience. That experience opened up a lot of other experiences. I met a lot of wonderful people that led to more work. So you never know. Don't turn down anything.
Yeah.
Take what you can.
Where can we see this Cult of Dracula work?
I think it's in the bookstores. It's gathered in a graphic novel.
Okay.
I think there's 7 issues. I'm in the first 3. I couldn't tell you right now, but I know it's in the bookstores in the graphic novel comic book section.
What you do is you go to any comic book store and be like,
Yeah.
"I want Jerry Martinez,"
Excuse me.
Right.
and they will,
Right.
and they will send it your way.
Right. Otherwise, we're gonna have to sacrifice you.
Charlie, you got a question?
No, I don't.
Oh my God.
Well, I always talk to artists, and this is a question I always ask it, because I love artists, because I can't draw.
You do. I mean, I've seen you with artists. You're wonderful.
Yep.
You treat
Well,
them well.
what do you aspire to? In other words, what do you want to create that after you create it, you say, that's it, I can't. I'm done.
I don't think there's ever a done. It's like
Yeah,
learning.
yeah.
You know, people. There's a lot of artists out there that have a very specific style. I'm going to use Jim Lee as an example. He's a wonderful artist, but in my opinion, I don't know if this is by choice or not, but I don't think he's ever grown. He's still doing the same style, but it sells really well. So I get it. But I want to learn every day. I'm always looking at inspiration. Like right now, I'm going nuts over Barry Windsor Smith, and I'm inking like him. I think I'm inking like him. So many influences, you know. So yeah, you never stop wanting to create. The point is, what can you create that is going to generate income on its own and help the family, and so we don't have to worry down the road. That's the goal, really.
Yeah, well,
It's like having a Patreon back in the medieval times, you know.
that's,
So if you couldn't do all of this, let's say this didn't exist anymore, what would you do?
I don't know.
No.
Cook. I'm sorry. I love cooking.
Okay.
I work in a restaurant. There.
Oh, really?
That was Okay, that
What
was,
kind of food?
well, anything. I love
Anything.
traditional Italian food.
Okay.
But I'm Cuban, so my specialty is the Cuban stuff.
All right. Okay.
And I actually tried making, I was vegan for a little bit, so I tried to convert a lot of Cuban recipes into
Yeah.
It worked, people liked it.
Yeah.
I have a friend out there that loved my vegan paella. That was a
Look at that.
surprise.
I mean, paella, it's amazing. Paella is, how could you go wrong?
Right, just put in artichokes instead of rabbit or whatever, pork and sausage, and you're good.
Yeah.
Cooking,
Yeah.
thanks, that's a
All
good
right,
question.
all right.
So when you're writing, and since you're going to be your own artist, do you specifically write things that are easier for you to draw,
No,
or
I like the challenge.
so are you arguing with yourself in your head? Or it's like, I'm
Absolutely.
going to use my writer's head right now, I'm going to write. And then when you're drawing, it's like, why did I think of this stuff? Is that what happens? You have that internal
Sure.
conflict in
There's
your
a
mind?
fight. Yeah, and there's like, Henry, this could be so much better, and the fans deserve better. You can do better. Stop it. And then I've reworked a lot of pages for the Kickstarter. And at some point, it's like working on a monthly. You got to say, all right, enough. You can't noodle all day. You'll never finish.
One of the things I find about many creative people is that they are perfectionists and they don't get stuff done
Drive
on
yourself
time.
crazy.
Now, one of the things I know about an artist, especially a penciler, is the deadline. Can you explain how important is the deadline over the creative process?
It's 90% more important than the actual talent. An editor will hire you. If you're a great talent, you will get work. But if you're late, they have a publishing schedule.
Yeah, yeah.
If you're late, you will never get a call again, ever. They'll bring up the next kid that's hungry enough to do mediocre work. Deadlines. People are waiting on them.
Yeah.
My pencils are done. Some guy's waiting at home to ink it, to put the inks on.
Right.
Somebody's waiting at home to color the page or letter it. So it's you're reliant. People depend on you, and it's your responsibility to step up.
And what's an interesting note is that that's how you got your first job, because the other guy was late. He
Oh.
didn't make his
That's it.
deadline, so you did
Oh,
a
wow.
film issue, which they really don't make film issues anymore, right?
No, they don't.
So basically, to explain to the audience what a fill-in issue was, is that they made comics, hell or hook or crook, hell or high water, everything came out exactly on this time no matter what. And if the guy was late, they still had to make something to put out that month, so they just hired whoever they could. But now, because it's a story, overarching stories, or they have a team that works the whole book, they kind of just make the books late, which is bad. But that goes to being the deadlines. So would you take certain shortcuts to make sure you can make that deadline? And
Oh,
if so,
absolutely.
what would those shortcuts be? What advice would you be like?
It's
I can do this, I
basically
can do
draw
that.
faster, like sacrificing.
Draw faster.
Coffee?
Yeah, coffee. Always coffee.
Backgrounds.
The
So
what?
The backgrounds.
background.
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's right. A lot of
okay.
artists would use background inkers. Like I worked a little bit for Joe Rubenstein when he was in Brooklyn, and he was notorious. I mean, this is not a bad thing when I use the word notorious, but he was famous for using background inkers because it's very simple work. Make the buildings look like buildings, draw a straight line, things like that. Another shortcut is you put in an X when you want someone to fill in a black. So you put X in the windows, and then they know to put black ink there. Stars. You grab a toothbrush, you wet it with white paint, and you go, and you have stars. So those are the little tricks and shortcuts. As long as the main guy, the star, does the front, the main image, no one's going to know any better.
So would you actually consider that a form of how it is now, using AI, as opposed to hiring like 8 other guys to do all that stuff?
Yeah, that'll
You're
take care of
just
everything.
kind of doing those shortcuts
Sure.
in that way.
And in Photoshop now you can do that. You have a brush and you name it stars, and you just go click, click, click.
Right.
And you kind of move it a little bit, and no one will know the better.
So we're at social media time. So where can people find out more about your stuff, your books, your work, all that information? Just read the stuff that's behind you for people who are listening on the show.
Social media. What would we do without it?
So just read it off because we're audience.
Oh, I'm
so
sorry,
that
sure.
let people know.
All right, so my Instagram is dragonbrush_studio. X, which used to be Twitter, @dragonbrush_inc. Incorporated. My Facebook is henry.martinez. And what is that, TikTok?
That is TikTok.
Dragon Brush Studio. I still have to learn me some TikTok. I'm not gonna dance though.
Nah. Well, it might be over in like a day.
Oh, that's
I think
right.
it's, like,
We're
getting
gonna go to
deleted,
Red
right?
Zone or something.
So
Yeah.
now what, you gotta put like an X over that, or you gotta make a whole new banner?
Actually, I'm gonna do a second banner as soon as I gather enough new work.
And this is a girl you drew this girl.
No, those are the covers. I have a story inside.
Oh, I was gonna say that's a pretty great looking girl. I
Right,
have no
well,
problem with that.
That's Boris Vallejo, so
Well, he did a
I'm
great
no
job.
Boris. But yeah, it's
That's a woman.
it's hard to
Not terrible.
So you mentioned your projects. When will that stuff be ready to come out?
Kickstarter, I can actually put it out in 3 months because of, fortunately or not, because of my rep. It's like, well, Henry, you know, you don't really need to do a finished book yet. Usually you do a finished book so people know what they're getting. But if you have a rep and people know you, you can, and you post updates, they'll say, all right, he's working on it. I can trust him. He's done a monthly book for 5 years in a row. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm working on that. And as soon as that's done, I'll keep updating people. There's going to be treats and little gifts, because you know, if you contribute a certain amount of money, you get a gift. Meaning it could be original art, whatever it is. A mug. Some people who have the money actually created toys and figures of their stuff, and they go on eBay. They're so like hotcakes.
So
I do want to do a figure.
So speaking of original art, you were kind enough to do an original piece of artwork in our raffle in front of our live studio audience. So why don't you describe what it is for the listeners on the radio? What exactly did you draw?
I drew one of my favorite characters and one that has defined my career, ghostwriter, who I enjoy drawing. I'm almost done. It says a lot of people would like finished work. There's some people that actually, you reach out to them when they're at home and you say, can you start it and finish it there? And it doesn't really, it depends on the person. So I'm finishing it here so in case you want to see me work. But it'll be done in 15, 20 minutes. And the work will be done. So you know what you're getting.
So does everybody
No
have a
surprises.
raffle ticket? Just make sure everybody has a raffle ticket. Yep.
Very cool.
Henry, would you do the honors?
Ooh.
Let's have it.
And,
Wait a minute, we got a drum roll. And pick one, don't look.
I won't.
The winner is, what's the
I
number?
said don't look. Ready?
Yeah.
3, 7, 6,
376
7, 0, 1.
701. Yay!
Whoa! Congratulations.
As we always mention, there's always a raffle at our live show. We always have a
Very
winner
cool.
every single episode. So we're almost out of time. So do you have any final thoughts for our listeners out there, Henry?
To support the industry, you know, the indies need it. Marvel and DC are doing fine. Watch as much media as you can because these people need jobs. Like all these great series that are on Netflix. Remember, there are people working behind the scenes to get this done. And once a controversy pops up and people start canceling, and a lot of people are out of work. So just keep that. Support your indie.
Jen, final thoughts?
And your kids, if they want to draw.
Jen, you have final thoughts?
Contribute to the world however you can. Everyone can contribute something in some way. We all have special gifts.
Charlie, final thought?
Yes, I want to thank Henry for coming down. I want to thank the studio audience for Be nice to everybody. It doesn't cost anything.
Yeah,
Well, sometimes
that's how
it
we
does.
live at home.
So that is
I
it
know.
for the show. My final thought is, once again, thank you, Henry, for coming down. Really appreciate you. I've known you a long time, and it was really amazing to have you here and learn more about you and your craft. Our next live show at the East Meadow Public Library will be on Wednesday, February 19th at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We're going to have writer-creator Carl Paolino as a guest,
I like
and he
Carl.
will be raffling off, I believe, a book of his.
Right.
So that is it for our show. Jennifer just almost fell
Yikes.
from her body.
Live on TV.